Hi friends, this is Angelica. Thanks for joining me here on the Greateries YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be introducing the new Christmas Sampler Stencil set and the Christmas Sampler Sentiments Stamp Set. This stencil set is a 6-piece set, and I'm going to jump right into stenciling, starting with the first stencil. I have a panel already on my grip mat, and I'm going to add the first stencil on top of it. There are A2 size rectangles on each stencil, so you can line up your panel or your card base, whatever you're stenciling on, so every stencil is in the same position. And I'm going to be using Distress Oxide inks with my sponge daubers, starting with Salvage Patina for this first stencil. I'm going to keep all of the stenciling on screen, but I am going to speed up the process here. So the first stencil does add trees and snowflakes to the panel. The next stencil is going to add more detail to the trees and finish the snowflakes on the top row. And for this layer, I'm going to use peacock feathers. This is the first time that I used the stencil, and I was so pleasantly surprised at how quick I was able to make a card. Like I said, I do have this sped up, but from start to finish with the sentiment, it probably took me 10 minutes to make the whole card, which I absolutely loved. Now we're on the third stencil, and I am going to use two colors here because the house is going to be in the middle of the panel, and I didn't want it to be pink, even though, I love to put pink on my cards. I try to sneak that color in anytime I can, so I used antique linen to start the house with, and then everything else I used worn lipstick. For the fourth stencil, I picked Abandoned Coral to ink with, and I think this color is so lovely next to worn lipstick. The color palette that I picked for this card, I wanted more of a vintage feel, so I didn't do the traditional green and red colors. I just went a little different with more of a turquoise and pink coral tone, as you can see. And I really love these colors for Christmas cards. So you can see that the scene is really starting to come together. Now the next two stencils, I'm going to be using browns, and these stencils are, they're just going to add just small little details, little dots here and there to wrap this scene up, and then also it's going to finish the house. So I picked tea dye for stencil 5 and ground espresso for stencil 6. And this is going to add the final touches to the stencil, and then we're going to ink the edges up a little bit because I wanted this to have even more of a vintage feel. So I just decided to use Warm Buff ink to age the edges of the panel before moving on to the sentiment. Okay, so now we're going to take a quick look at Christmas Sampler Sentiment Stamp Set. There is a coordinating die set that is sold separately. I am going to stamp right onto the card panel with a sentiment that I put together. Now, this stamp set does give you several different options on your sentiment. So for this scene, I picked Warm Winter Wishes, but there's also Merry Christmas, Peace on Earth, and a couple little accessory stamps if you wanted to use those also. I did want you to see what these words looked like die cut too, so I re-stamped them and used the coordinating dies to die cut the words, and then I added a little bit of the Warm Buff ink on the edges before I attached them to the card panel with thin foam squares. And since this panel was so easy to put together, I did make a second one off screen, and I used the more traditional Christmas colors for this card, greens and reds, and I picked grays to be the background details and the little house, and Merry Christmas was stamped in black. This stencil set is part of the new Recollective Holiday Collection, which will be in the Greetery shop this Friday, October 6th. You can find more details on all the products that are in this release over on the Greeteries blog, so be sure to stop by, take a look at all the new products, and there's tons of inspiration being shared. That's all that I have for today. I want to thank you again for stopping by. Take care, friends.